Oh, doing good, man. I'm craving a weekend. Got one knocking at the door. How are you doing, Christian?
Pretty good, hunting for houses. That's always weird and stressful, but other than that, we're good to go. Just hanging in there, waiting for football season, waiting on all the news, and sick of seeing players get arrested news. And also
Ugh.
just sick of Brandon Ayuk news. Stop with it. I don't care. Stop. Every app I own is alerting me. I've gotten the Brandon Ayuk's trade value is tanked news like 500 times, and I don't fucking care.
It has, like, I think we all agree on
Yeah.
that.
Like, why do you
Like
keep
two
telling me
years
this?
ago.
Yeah, like what is the deal? Stop telling me this,
I
ESPN.
remember when he missed curfew at training camp in 2019. Like that was pretty much the end of it for him, right?
Yeah, fucking crazy. But on that note, we are gonna talk about some wide receivers. We did
Hmm.
the ranking of the NFC wide receiver groups last week, and this week we're heading over to the AFC. If you've been with us, you know the structure. Just ranking the positional groups, not based on the best player overall, but the group as a whole in terms of their fantasy viability. So yeah, I mean, with that stated again, you want to take us who you got at 16?
16. If you're ready for this party, I'm ready too. I'm going to Miami,
Yeah.
the city that does know how to party pretty well. But the Dolphins are obviously in a big transition year. There's
Yep.
a lot new with the squad. Jeff Halfley, we talked about a little Bobby Slowick in the house.
Hmm.
Obviously, you got Malik Willis on the scene. Maybe these things are spicier than kind of
Mm.
the flat, flat trajectory they were on with McDaniel. But one thing you're going to need to get an offense rolling is wide receivers. I mean, that's just kind of a time-tested theory.
Mm.
Feeling confident about it, and I'm looking at it. It's tough for me. It's rough to get pumped about. Your starting lineup projected as Jalen Tolbert, Tutu Atwell, and Malik Washington. I just don't
Ooh.
know what to say. Obviously, there's an infusion of excitement. Chris Bell, I think they're going to be asking a lot of him, or like they have high hopes for his future. But we're sitting on a November ACL with a recovery that doesn't really include any offseason work or maybe even early season play time. So it's everything about this team is next year, whatever. But like the face of this wide receiver room is not even close to being solidified or even hinted at this point. They also have Caleb Douglas coming in, third round pick. Um, but it's kind of like the parts bin when it comes to wide receiver rooms. This is like worse than the NFL, and I don't think there's much of an argument for that.
Yeah, I mean, you can get excited about the potential of like seeing three rookies because I feel like they'll be in there. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
the Kevin Coleman.
Yeah, throw in Kevin Coleman and the two guys you mentioned. I don't think Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell and Malik Washington are necessarily going to hold all those guys off. Obviously, we were big fans of Malik Washington coming
Yeah.
out, so it'll be fun to see him. But we also don't
PPR
even know.
54 last year.
Yeah, there you go. But we don't even know how this offense is going to work.
No.
Like we haven't seen Malik Willis, we haven't seen the new offensive coordinator. Like it's just a big question mark. I think if you have one of these Dolphin rookies, you'll be excited just to kind of keep an eye on, like, see if somebody pops. But in terms of relying on any of these guys, no, yeah, I'm with you. I have them ranked 16 as well. There's not much of an argument for them to be any higher. So I'll go to the 15 here. And I went with the Las Vegas Raiders at 15. Um, Not a ton to say here either. The Raiders went
Ugh.
and obviously took Fernando Mendoza, and then tried to shore up the offensive line to help him and Ashton Genty out. And Brock Bowers is going to be their main guy. But I mean, Trey Tucker had 92 targets last season, ended as the wide receiver 38, but he was wide receiver 49 in points per game. Jalen Naylor, they bring over from the Vikings, has some potential, but you're relying on a guy who has never been better than the wide receiver 60 or had more than 450 yards in a season. And then Jack Besh, who was a guy I liked as a two, you're kind of looking at him as a one now, and he had a really quiet rookie season, only 29 targets. So there's just not a lot to work with here. This is definitely like a stepping stone year, which is why I think the Raiders brought in Kirk Cousins to kind of take a little bit of the brunt of that. Like basically the only reason they're above the Raider or the Dolphins for me. Well, the Dolphins are potentially historically bad, I guess. But is that like Cousins can get work out of people that you normally wouldn't find. I mean, Kadero Hodge was like relatively workable week to week with Kirk Cousins. So like maybe he could do it, but we also haven't seen good Cousins in a while. So it's just
Mm.
there's not a lot to do here. The only Raiders you really want in a Superflex dynasty, you want to see Fernando if he can do well, and then Genty and Bowers. But other than that, like none of these guys are getting my excitement level up.
Oh no, 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 no excitement, none whatsoever. This team, yeah, with Trey Tucker being the only receiver to have over 50 targets, while there's three other guys, Genty was nipping at the hills of the workload of some of these wideouts. So
Hmm.
it is not my number 15. It is, yes, my number 15 as well.
Okay.
Dante Thornton, get in there, give him some time. You mentioned Kirk Cousins. There's a connection. 2 years in Minnesota spent with Jalen Naylor.
Yeah,
Uh, you
that's
know,
fair.
I think it's fair to be excited about Clint Kubiak coming
Mm.
in.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, another incubator team, if
Yeah.
you will. It's the shell has not cracked. But yeah, it's definitely looking good for them with Mendoza coming in. So yeah, no, this is going pretty smooth here.
Yeah, so far so good. We'll see if it keeps it up with 14. So who you got there?
14. Okay, well, now let's see. Let's see. Now, well, I have the Browns.
Oh, yep, same.
Okay. So here we go. Another new head coach situation.
Yeah.
You got Todd Monken on the scene, which I mean, we're all excited when we hear the name Todd Monken in 2026. So that's going to be really fun to see where they end up. But I don't know who's leading this wide receiver core. You've got Jerry Judy as a veteran, leading this wide receiver core question mark with the 70th ranked points per game in 2026.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of beat him up a little bit in the quarterback episode. So we'll just say he's past his glory days.
Yeah.
And I don't think, without a Winston resurgence, we're not going to see anything happening for the Browns as far as like targeting Jerry Judy. And a lot of that's because Casey Concepcion picked up in the first round. Very exciting player. Denzel Boston, that's a great player right there too. I think that I'm not going to say the word incubator, but I feel like this team is definitely going in a direction that doesn't really include 2026 as a blow up year, and a lot of
Yeah.
that is a quarterback room. We don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to be healthy enough to play, or if he's still a high caliber player. Shador Sanders, I do think, is probably better than his reputation would indicate. But I don't know if he's going to be allowed to, develop much. If Watson's out there, I don't think like the Dylan Gabriel thing is got to be over, please, maybe. But for me, I just don't get very excited about Cleveland in the wide receiver room. I do obviously like some Harold Fanning, and I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be going. So there's a ton of young talent on this squad. So it is something to be excited about, but the wide receiver room isn't necessarily it for me going into this year.
Yeah, not this year. I think that's the operative word. I love Casey Concepcion. Anybody that's listened to this podcast knows how I feel about him. And then Denzel Boston's really intriguing as well. But yeah, this team is built really well outside of the quarterback room, and they're just projecting for 2027 for the quarterback room. Like, Jerry Judy last year, like you said, was the wide receiver 70 in points per game with this exact same quarterback room. So
Hmm.
even when they were doing well, it's not like they were feeding one guy and they weren't doing well that often. So maybe Watson comes back and is maybe okay, but that's a huge if and lots of maybes. And so I don't think getting into this room, I want pieces of this room, but they're just going to ride the bench. I'll put them in the taxi squad and just see how they go, see if they pop a little bit. But in terms of this year, yeah, it's hard to get excited just because there's just it's a team clearly building for 2027. Despite the upside, I don't think they're going to be consistent enough to rely on this year.
Yeah, no, you said it well, my friend.
So 13 then, three in a row for us. Let's see if we can make it four. We've got,
Uh-oh.
for me, the Indianapolis Colts is who I have at 13. Don't know if that's the same.
Yeah, I agree, but I have him at 12, but I do
Okay, so
agree.
a little off, but yeah. So I have him at 13. This room to me has quite a bit of variance, though. I could see them moving up a little bit. Daniel Jones is obviously the huge question mark here. If he's healthy, then maybe Pearson Downs can have pretty good years. I don't think they'll have great years, and that's why like their ceiling is. I mean, they could move up, but I don't see them moving past like the top 10 of this exercise. But it's weird because I looked at Alec Pierce from last season. He was 22nd in points per game for the whole season, which is pretty good. It's not terrible. Uh, I mean it's good. Especially as a like flex or a depth piece. But he was weirdly wide receiver 37 in points per game for the weeks that Daniel Jones was healthy, which you wouldn't think
Hmm.
made a lot of sense. Like he had a few boom games towards the end of the year, which really kind of spiked him up. And then Josh Downs was wide receiver 55 while Daniel Jones was healthy. So it's not like Daniel Jones was really feeding those two guys. Now, obviously, Michael Pittman's gone, but we've been on this podcast talking about how that might actually hurt Pierce. And maybe Downs a little bit. I do like Downs. I still like Pierce, but I always saw him as a two. So now that he's getting paid to be the one and really needs to be the guy, I'm intrigued to see how that goes. But to me, it's really just that the Colts are a run first team still, and I think they will be with JT looking great last year and set up to look good again. And then I just think Tyler Warren's going to be the number one receiving option out of all these guys. So then you're trickling down from, like running with Taylor, Tyler Warren next, probably Alec Pierce, maybe Josh Downs, but you got Jonathan Taylor receiving work in there somewhere too. And then your third wide receiver is just basically useless in terms of fantasy. I'm not even sniffing Nick Westbrook Ikine. So yeah, there's just too much like I just their upside isn't even high enough for me to get that excited.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Honestly, yeah, I've got him at 12, so 12, 13. Yeah, lost Pittman. That's kind of a huge deal breaker for me. I really did think he was kind of the heart of this receiving core. It's surprising to see how they assess their own team. I do think Josh Downs has the potential to be the fantasy number one, even though, as far as football team build, he probably won't be asked to be number one. Um, Westbrook Akina, I guess, I don't know. I just think Tyler Warren's about to get,
Yeah.
everything through him here. So that's pretty exciting. I will say that this team was in the top 10 in total passing yards last year
Mm.
at ninth, and that to me doesn't seem sustainable. You yourself have admitted that it's a run first team. And, if Daniel Jones is also running the ball, he might have a few clutch plays, some game winning drives. But I don't think it's coming through as far as fantasy wide receivers. And I think, yeah, Alec Pierce is going to shock me if he is a top 20 wide receiver this year. So it's hard for me to get pumped about that being your potential best player in your wide receiver room.
Yeah, I'm with you. So who did you slide in at 13 then?
I had the Titans there.
Okay. All right.
So I know, right? Yeah, it's this section was difficult for me. Well, I'll be excited to see where you have the Titans, but
I can
for
tell you.
me, well, go for it.
Okay, I got him at 11. So
Okay,
a
okay.
little
I
higher
never
than you.
know. I know, you know, when you I used to note this stuff. I'm gonna note this stuff here. Yeah, not too bad. We'll see. Um, yeah, for me, this is Robert Saleh, head coach,
hmm
Brian Dable. Like, let's see what's happening here. You're gonna see a theme. Like my bottom, probably six teams. Five of them have new head coaches, new OCs,
Fair enough.
uncertainty. Um, I do think Cam Ward takes a step. I
hmm
don't know if the step is like huge,
Yeah.
but I do think it is going to be substantial. A lot of it rides on Cornell Tate. I mean, that's a huge ad here.
Mhm.
And then you've got Wandale Robinson linked with the offensive coordinator coming in. That means a lot here. He had, you know, at 17th in points per game last year.
Mm.
Let me verify. Let me verify. Yep. Okay. And that's pretty solid. So it gives you something to be excited about. It's hard to relay anything they did last year. They were 30th in passing yards. So I think that there's a lot that's going to be new on this offense. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't count on the running game overly, so maybe I should have had them a little bit higher, but 13th is where they land for me. Just potential, but I need it to gel. I need this a lot of change.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm with you. That is one of the reasons I had them a little higher than say than my number 12 team. Just because like it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to run the ball super well.
Mhm.
And Brian Daboll coming in, he was able to do that stuff with Josh Allen. He had Daniel Jones have a good year. So I'm excited for him to work with Cam Ward, and I do think the additions they made are spicy. The offensive line's still not great. But bringing in Carnell Tate, I love that addition. I think he could be an instant usable piece. I think he's going to be the number one there for sure. And then Wandale has proven to be like a solid flex bench guy, especially
Oh
PPR
yeah,
league for the record. A lot of this is PPR focused, so maybe not so much in non PPR, but I think it'll work really well with Cam Ward in terms of at least getting these guys points. And then, Calvin Ridley's time in the NFL is fading, but as a wide receiver three, that's still some juice. I don't know that I'd want him on my roster necessarily, but if he was in deeper leagues, he might get some work. So I kind of like it. I do think it's a two wide receiver room with varying upside because, like you said, there's a lot new here, but I kind of just am a little higher on it, I suppose. Um, but yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I said, I had him at 11, so not that much higher than you. So for
sure. They do get a
me,
bump for not having much competition from the tight end room. I'll give them
yeah,
that. So,
well, yeah, for sure. I actually kind of am heating up on Gunnar Helm a little bit.
oh
Weirdly, well,
shoot, spoiler.
that's for 2 or 3 weeks from now. Um, but so my number 12, this one was tough for me because I do think their number one is great. I just don't see getting much use out of the rest of the room at all. So I had the Ravens here. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I know. But Zay Flowers was great last year. Flex, wide receiver two in 2025. He finishes the wide receiver seven overall, wide receiver 13 in points per game. And there's a lot of people who think he will improve under the new Ravens offense. You can put me on that list. I still think like consistency week to week will always just be an issue for him in a run first offense with Lamar and Derrick Henry back there and Zay Flowers just being a smaller guy, like sometimes he's just going to get boxed out. But other times we've seen his electricity been pounding the table on this guy since he was a rookie. So it's not his fault. But in terms
of
of the
course
wide
not.
receiver two in this offense, I'm skeptical of everybody. Lamar Jackson's wide receiver twos over the past 7 seasons have averaged 477 yards. They went over 600 once. And to be fair, that was Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman's still on the team. If they bring in a guy, the guy that came over from the Bears, I cannot remember his name, the new offensive coordinator. But they bring him over. to scheme up plays. Maybe Bateman can do it again, but even
Declan
that,
Doyle.
Declan Doyle, there you go. Even that was like a random like okay season. It's not like Bateman was amazing. He just like had a few weeks where you could use him. And you're gonna have to project that to hope that it happens. And it just never has for Lamar. Like that's just not what he does, and he's amazing with it. His number two option or sometimes number one option, depending on his wide receiver core, is the tight end, and then his legs. So you're fourth in the pecking order, at best, as the wide receiver two. And then they draft Elijah Surratt. They draft Jacoby Lane. I like both those guys, and I think they could push for starting spots, but I think that means you're going to see a lot more rotation for that second guy. So I do like the
Hmm?
two rookie options, but I don't like them for this year. I don't see him having breakout rookie seasons in terms of fantasy. So Zay Flowers to me is the only one that you can rely on at all. And so it's kind of like JSN last week. When you look at the room as a whole, it's not great. Zay Flowers is, but he's also not JSN. So they had to be even farther down than where the Seahawks were.
Oh yeah. Dang, man. Killing me. Yeah, I'm with I had the Ravens at 11, so
Okay. Yeah. So,
we're all even on the bottom six as
mhm.
far as just a little shuffling here, a little there. Um, but yeah, Bateman, it is what it is. You can't blame him for what's going on when he's, his best season, as you mentioned, 2024 was a 72 target season, and his highest after that is 56. So you're basically saying that the wide receiver room outside of the number one isn't getting the ball. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to elevate him, hard to cheer for him. I do think Zay Flowers is pretty good at the football game. So I'll give him, I don't know, a little bit of a bump, 13th in points per game last season. Yeah, yeah, he's pretty solid at football. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I do think that Declan Doyle is going to come in with some excitement, and I still like Surratt a lot. So,
Yeah.
and Jacoby Lane, I thought, yeah, there's got some good options. It's a matter of if they force Lamar to pass the ball to more
Yeah.
people than Zay, and I don't think that's going to happen. So,
Not much. And then, sorry, but I don't even then who are they going to force him to outside of Zay? Because all three of those guys you named are interesting. Like Bateman
oh
has
yeah,
shown flashes, Surratt we liked, and
for
Jacoby
sure.
Lane they picked earlier than that. So like it's one of those things that like even if he is throwing the ball more, is he just going to consistently throw it more to Bateman? I don't know because they
No,
drafted two wide receivers, so they're clearly planning on moving that room around. So yeah, I don't know. It's just question
well,
marks all
yeah.
around at wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think they need to. They've always been trying to make Bateman be the deep ball guy, and he's
Yeah,
more of a possession guy, so he doesn't really fit the role. But they're not going to make him change that. Obviously, he's really good at possession stuff, and then the two rookies are both kind of red zone
yeah,
magnets. So we'll just see what happens. Touchdowns or fantasy points that are undeniable. So
for sure.
who knows? We could have ourselves another Gabe Davis situation
Yeah,
on our hands, where people are startable just from scoring touchdowns. So,
that'd be fun. All right, so who you got at
number
10 then?
10. Well, this is where it's going to get really strange. I think for me personally, for you, I think it's going to be a clash here. I'm going with the Jets.
Oh, I have him at 9.
Okay. See, this is like, man, it's really funny after doing this is our fourth episode of this format and quarterback, wide receiver, and it's like the AFC's got the quarterbacks, man, but the
Yeah.
NFC's got the wide receivers.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird matchup, but
Mm,
I mean, Garrett Wilson is awesome.
yeah.
He's just going to be suffering forever from floundering offense. And obviously, it doesn't hurt when you got Brees Hall
Yeah.
toting the rock. So this is just going to be a season of getting by
Uh-huh.
again for him. And I mean, he does well, a shortened year last year, but
Mm,
before that, I mean, he's consistently kicking ass as far as like the quality of play. But Its career high is 7 touchdowns in 2024. You can't really be a fantasy stud when you're not consistently getting over 5 touchdowns a season. That's going to really hold you back. We were just talking about Gabe Davis. Um, but they do get a nice bump. It's kind of weird for me. Like 10, I feel like is where I'd put them, even if they didn't take Omar Cooper, just because you can't deny Garrett Wilson. But the Omar Cooper of it all really takes it up a step. Frank Reich is the OC for this team now. Kind
Well,
of missed that, but I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's something to be excited about. But it's Gino. Like we know
yeah.
that Gino, that that Gino is going to be holding this team back as far as the ceiling. It does feel like Aaron Glenn is focusing on defense as far as rallying this team and fighting for his job. That's another point against this wide receiver room. It sucks because I feel like Garrett Wilson is top three for the AFC, no doubt. But he's not going to get to produce the fantasy stats that reflect that because of the team he's on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's proven to be kind of quarterback proof in terms of like being still
Like NFL
usable.
success, yeah.
Yeah, NFL success and being like, a wide receiver 2 or 3 for your fantasy roster. I mean, last year before he got hurt, he was wide receiver 15 in points per game on
Hmm.
a dog shit Jets roster. So, he got shut down last year due to injury, but he could have come back, I think, but there was just no point because they were so terrible. So, like, yeah, Garrett Wilson's going to be awesome. And in terms of talent, I think this is a great room. I love Garrett Wilson. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Omar Cooper is spicy IU guy. And then Adonai as a three, I like. I never really liked Adonai as like the guy that people wanted him to be, but as a number three option, that's cool. But it's another team kind of like the Browns that they're projecting towards 2027. And then now the Geno legal news that's come
Oh
out
yeah.
puts a huge dark cloud on the entire situation. So yeah, it's
Cade
really
Klubnik. Get him.
yeah, it's really you're looking at Garrett Wilson and neither one of these other guys are going to be that valuable. And you're right, Garrett Wilson's ceiling is capped pretty hard by the fact that they can't get a quarterback in there for him, which is maddening because he is a magician on the field. I did have them slightly. I just maybe based on pure talent and like my unwillingness to move Garrett Wilson farther down.
Yeah.
So I did have them at 9, but not that much different from you. So at 10, I put the Pittsburgh Steelers. DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, Jeremy Bernard. DK finishes as the wide receiver 26 last year. That caps 3 seasons for him at 26, 32, and 21. Michael Pittman's finished as the wide receiver 18, but he was wide receiver 30 in terms of points per game. Just stayed healthy all year and was able to keep racking up points after points. Jeremy Bernard, interesting prospect. I know it's a guy. This is kind of. I knew we weren't going to agree on this one. You're higher on Pittman. I think you're still higher on Metcalf than me, and you're higher on Jeremy Bernard than me.
Yeah.
Jeremy is an interesting prospect, but outside of Christian Watson, Aaron Rodgers has never had a hot start with a rookie wide receiver, really. And even Christian Watson, he was kind of forced into it because they traded Devontae Adams. So it's not that's just not what he does. So that being the third option there, I just don't really see him getting a lot of work this year. And then obviously like the Rodgers situation, like maybe Mike McCarthy comes in and improves where Rodgers was at and Rodgers opens it back up. But I just kind of feel like we're past that point in his career. Like he'll have flash weeks. He's going to throw touchdowns. Is he going to throw a lot of yards? Maybe not. Like it's just one of those things that like I don't see it getting much better than it has been. So I think Pittman and Metcalf can be like serviceable pieces for fantasy, but I do feel like their ceilings are kind of around what they were last year, and Pittman's is a little lower. I don't think he'll finish as the wide receiver 18. I feel like they could maybe both finish in the 20s, maybe Metcalf in the early 20s, maybe 19 or something and then Pittman in the later 20s or 30s. Like I just don't see there being much high value fantasy for them this year. I just don't. And I mean, maybe I could have put them above the Jets, but like I love Aaron Rodgers, but was his play that much better than the Jets quarterback that last year? Not particularly, in terms of, efficiency stats and EPA and stuff. So I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy that they're going to be fantasy successful, even if McCarthy comes in and brings them to the playoffs yet again. I just don't see you getting a lot of points out of this Pittsburgh wide receiver room.
You don't?
No.
Seriously? All right. All right. I don't know if you know Brian Angelico, formerly Minnesota Vikings tight end and passing game coordinator, but he's now the offensive coordinator for the
Okay.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
I'm Minnesota Vikings. Well, something pretty good here. Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers, like, yeah, that whole side of it is tough for me to
Yeah.
rally behind the Rodgers and McCarthy ride again type situation. But I like Pittman a lot, man. I
Yeah.
like Bernard a ton as well, and I do like Metcalf apparently more than you. I'll fess up to that accusation. Truth, it's the truth. So I had him at number 7.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of a big jump. We'll get into the teams I have between them. We're probably going to be some more disagreement. But really, I think it's Pittman for me. I
Okay.
think he's been undervalued, and I think he's about to get turned up pretty good. Their number 2 last year in the wide receiver room was Calvin Austin, with the 55 targets. So if they can get things going, I think the wide receiver room's going to get leaned on in a pretty big way this season. A lot of their passes were also going to Kenneth Gainwell. Last
Hmm.
year, he's out of the picture. That's 85 targets. So there's got to be some kind of a rebalancing for the target shares around here. And I don't necessarily think that's going to be going to Rico. And I don't think the tight end room is getting fed any more than a pretty ample workload that they're already responsible for. So I do think that they have a plan to activate Pittman and to get the ball moving through the air quite a bit. So I got them up at 7.
I would love it. Danny, big Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I would love that for him if they got going. I know he would enjoy that. And I still love Rodgers. I know that's a hot take these days, but it'll
Never
never go
have,
away
never
from
will.
me. Maybe less than I used to, but I would love to see him have a good year. So I hope you're more right than I am, but I couldn't get behind it. But so who then do you have at number 9?
Okay, this is where the bridges are burnt, you know. There will be feuds in the street, a lot of sad faces in my neighborhood, because I have the Chiefs at
Okay.
9.
Yeah.
And stop me if you heard this before, but I don't think that Xavier Worthy is big enough to be in the role that he's in. I don't think it is what it is, man. I love the
But he's
Chiefs.
so fast, Daniel.
God damn it. Well, he's not fast enough to score more than one touchdown, right? Like
Yeah.
that happened
Yeah.
last year. Receiving didn't happen. And you got Rice. He was, oh my God, dude. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's one of the top wide receivers in the NFL when he's healthy and being featured.
And not
Um,
in jail.
Yeah, but he's pumping out 12 games over the last 2 seasons. And it's just not super promising when you have
Uh-huh.
Pat Mahomes questionable to start the season.
Yeah.
It's all that. I mean, next year
Hmm.
I'm gonna have, this receiving core probably the top 5. But right now there's too much up in the air. I like Tyquan Thornton quite a bit. We all know that. It's kind of a weird thing that I
Hmm.
have going on, but he kind of blossomed a little bit last year. You know, 23 yards per catch. That's pretty damn good. It
Mm,
slots right into what this offense needs as far as someone over the top to really threaten the defense. But you got Kelsey coming back for what is seemingly his last year, and I think, there's a good chance that he's just the leader on this team yet again.
yeah.
I don't think it bodes well for the wide receiver room. I think they're still making things work. I think they're still forcing the issue, and I think that bringing in Kenneth Walker is going to balance this team in a way that, doesn't make it rely on Pat Mahomes throwing the ball downfield all the time. So I don't know. It hurts. It burns coming out, but that's who I got at 9.
Yeah, I have him at 8. So I
Okay.
mean, I'm right there with
You give
you.
him the Eric Bieniemy bump.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, they get the Patrick Mahomes bump is what they get, to be honest. If this core
Yeah.
didn't have Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes, they'd be a lot lower.
yeah. If this was the
Uh,
Jets, they'd be at 16, right? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about that far, but they wouldn't be much higher. Like obviously Mahomes, they say he's on track for week 1. We'll see. Even if he
Yep.
is, like, is he the guy? But the big red flag, not even red flag, but like the big alert
Right.
sign that should go off in your head is the Kenneth Walker signing. They're bringing
Right.
him in. They want to run the ball more. They want to take pressure off Mahomes, and Mahomes can do work with that, and it'll be
And he
good.
can scramble too. I
Yeah,
mean,
and he can scramble if his leg's healthy. But, Rice will obviously be great, but I think Kelsey, like you said, is going to get a lot of work still to varying degrees of success. But yeah, Rice will be great. He can be a wide receiver 1 or a very strong wide receiver 2 for you potentially. But in terms of these other guys, Xavier Worthy's boomer bust candidate, largely a bust. And to me, Thornton's just a guy. Like he works in the offense pretty
yeah.
well, but I
Yeah.
don't
He's
like.
not a standalone stud in any
Yeah, like
regard.
in
No.
terms of fantasy, I don't want him. Like good luck figuring out what week he's going to catch a long pass from Mahomes. Maybe they turn that up. Maybe they make it work. Maybe Jalen Royals gets involved. Who knows? But I can't rely on this group right now. So yeah, I got him at 8. They purely because of the Patrick Mahomes bump, and Rashee Rice is really good, but
He's really good.
we don't know if
Really
he's
dumb.
super healthy, and he's really dumb. So we
Really
don't know
dumb.
if he's healthy or if he'll end up in jail by the end of the year.
Yeah, really
Um,
irresponsible, I should say. I don't know how intelligent he is, judging by his
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
actions.
Yeah, that's a better
Poor.
way to phrase it. So who's your 8 then?
I got the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
Damn.
well, how high do you have them?
I'm at 4.
4. Okay. Yeah, so this one is different, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, Especially compared, I'm looking at the names and I don't know if they necessarily have a stud. I think that
Yeah.
it's like a safety in numbers for them. When Parker Washington may be possibly the leader on this team, Jacoby Myers is definitely fighting for it. And then I think Brian Thomas has a ton of potential.
Yeah.
These guys had pretty even target shares going in and out of last year. There's the Travis Hunter of it all, and then obviously the Travis Etienne of it all.
Hmm.
So the departure there opens things up, but
Hmm.
then, some Brennan Strange things are happening around there. I can't believe that contract extension. I just will never understand the Jags, and I think I just am a hater. I think I'm
Yeah.
a hater.
It's easy
So
to be.
yeah, I mean, it's really stable. Trevor Lawrence definitely making, he's been playing well really his whole
Yeah.
career. He survived Urban Meyer, and now he got Jacoby Myers. That's the better of the two deals. So it's
Hmm.
arrow up for them. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, I guess having Pittsburgh ahead of them, it's really more of my Pittman love
Yeah.
than anything, but those guys were neck and neck. And then I think the top 6 for me separate from them. So I'll be curious to see who you have um, between 8 and 4, just to see who you prefer the Jags over.
Yeah, well, so my thing with the Jags, I actually had them higher in my initial rankings, and then
Sheesh.
ha had to bring them back down a little bit, back down to earth. Maybe I should have brought them back down a little bit more, but according to that, but so this to me, Jacoby Myers really caught on with Trevor Lawrence. This was what actually did the dagger to me and made me bring him down. Weeks 9 to 18, he was good with Lawrence, but he was only wide receiver 28 in points per game, which was a bit surprising. It felt like he was doing a lot better when he moved over. Parker Washington proved that he was like a viable
Yeah.
asset, wide receiver 35 in points per game. So especially in deeper leagues, like most dynasty leagues are, like he is usable. Maybe not like every week or whatever, but he can be. It all hinges on Brian Thomas Jr. And it's one of those
Yeah.
things. Do we look at last year and go, is Brian Thomas Jr. 2025 wide receiver 42, or is he 2024 wide receiver 4 Brian Thomas Jr., or is he somewhere in the middle? Which even if he's in the middle, like let's say he ends up in the teens, and then I think another year with Jacoby Myers, um, or like an offseason with Jacoby Myers can make him and Trevor Lawrence have a better relationship, which kind of started off pretty hot already. And then Parker Washington comes in as, to me, the third guy, but a viable third guy. Then Travis Achan leaves. So now
Oof.
it does seem like Trevor Lawrence is going to throw even more. They're going to rely on this guy. They paid him all this money to do it, and he seems to be heating up. So to me, in terms of creating multiple viable fantasy wide receivers, this is one of the higher end groups to me. I think all three of these guys by the end of the year will be at least usable, and two to me have fairly large upside in Brian Thomas Jr. and Jacoby Myers. I could see them both, like if everything goes right for the Jags and Trevor Lawrence keeps playing the way he does, I could, and Brian Thomas Jr., that's a lot of ands and a lot of ifs. I hear you.
Sure.
But if Brian Thomas Jr. is closer to the wide receiver four guy, and Jacoby Myers gets a whole nother year of working with Trevor Lawrence, and they both like end up, I don't know, in the teens, like that wouldn't be that crazy to me. Maybe like Brian Thomas Jr. in the early teens and Jacoby Myers in like 18, 19 range. Like if that happens, then you're getting a lot of viability out of this room as a whole, and that's why they're so high to me. Do I think that Brian Thomas Jr. is as big of a superstar as say a couple of the guys that I have behind him? Absolutely not. Last year kind of spooked me on him. But in
Hmm.
terms of being able to use a full room for fantasy, I think this is one of the better groups in the AFC.
You're right. Yeah, it's not necessarily sexy, but it's proven and it's productive and it's really largely unchanged. So
Yeah.
it's just the next evolution of it. And I think you're right. I looked over at my quarterback rankings and I had Trevor Lawrence as number 8 in the AFC quarterbacks. So I guess I'm just a little
That's
Jag
fair. I mean,
hater. So
this they have a lot of variance in terms of if Brian Thomas Jr. is closer to the guy he was last year, then they
yeah.
tank. They fall down probably even farther than where you have him, because it just is bad. But yeah, that's where I was at with him. So well, yeah, I'm intrigued to see how the rest of this goes. So that was your 8?
Yeah. And
Okay.
Steelers were my 7.
Okay, so my 7 is the Buffalo Bills. It's crazy because I have the Bills at 7 and the Chiefs at 8. So you got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes groups are not in the top 5 for me. Um, but I couldn't put either one of them higher. I mean, Josh Allen's obviously a marvel at QB, but he hasn't really produced a true wide receiver fantasy threat since Stephon Diggs left. Like it's been guys on a weekly basis. Like I thought Shakir had a better year than he did last year, and he was great for the Bills, but in fantasy, he was only wide receiver 43 in points per game. It's not like he was killing it really. So they bring in DJ Moore. DJ Moore was wide receiver 46 in points per game. Like, was it because of the Bears? I mean, Caleb Williams had a great season, so it's like hard to say it was entirely the Bears' fault. So is DJ Moore going to come in and be great with Josh Allen? I mean, we hope so. That's the whole point they traded for him. I still feel like they gave up way too much, especially taking on that contract for him, but that's a conversation for a different conversation. Whatever. So
Sounds
that's
good.
where I'm at. It's like I feel like Shakir will be good. He's a decent play in deeper leagues. A good play, great play in deeper leagues. And then I think DJ Moore could be good, but I think his ceiling is like the 20s. Like I don't. I don't see this as like Josh Allen all of a sudden coming in and just lighting the world on fire with DJ Moore of all people. I feel like he's just past that point in his career, and maybe I'll be wrong. And Josh Allen is a fucking god, but in terms of he distributes the ball wherever it needs to go and runs over everybody. It hasn't been this situation where he's feeding one guy over and over and over again and turning them into a fantasy asset. And if I don't know. I tell me I'm wrong, I guess.
Well, I'm just looking at this. When was the last time that Josh Allen was out there with the Maryland wide receiver? You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair
You know what
enough.
I'm talking
Yeah, that
about?
was a while ago. Yeah.
It's been since 2023.
Uh,
But that Maryland wide receiver was, he was a top 10
yeah.
guy all 4 years with Josh Allen. And I mean, the names may change, but your alma mater, never does. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much, this is it. The script's already there.
Yeah.
Josh has just been waiting for another
Maryland guy.
terrapin to
Got
come
it.
his way.
Okay.
So
DJ
uh,
Moore in the house.
DJ Moore all the way in the house. Um, no, this one is tough. This is where it gets hard. I have them at 6.
Okay.
Uh,
So not
Um,
not that different.
and I think obviously team wise, like team management wise, I think that the Brian Bean of it all is yeah, and the McDermott of it all. I think there's some problems coming up for this organization
Mm,
because they were not able to prioritize business over whatever fun or vibes or whatever they're making their decisions based off of right now.
hmm.
And that impacts the trade for DJ Moore and the lopsided compensation, but it also sets an expectation that DJ Moore is going to come in. He's only 29.
Yeah.
He's going to come in and light the world up. I think that there's potential for that to happen in a pretty major way. I think Josh Allen needs a number one wide
Yeah.
receiver, and I don't think he's had that since Stephon,
Definitely not. Yeah.
left. So I think Shakir has the potential to continue the success he's had, but the success that this team is going to have, I think it lies in DJ Moore, and I think Skylar Bell, fourth round pick. You're a big fan of out of
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
I feel like it's good news. So I think that they're going to figure it out. You mentioned Josh Allen gets the ball where he needs to go. I think that Skylar Bell is going to be benefiting from that. Keon Coleman is definitely going to be the forgotten guy here, just based off of what the organization has said and in the way they've behaved as kind of a
Yeah.
scapegoat on some of the
Yeah.
past stuff.
Yeah.
So it feels like an instant refresh, and there's no reason that Skylar Bell, who isn't going to be asked to be a number one or a number two, can't just get in and start contributing in a pretty major way,
Yeah.
like a secret success type role. So, yeah, Joe Brady, yay, head
I would
coach, and Pete Carmichael. So it's coming out of Denver. It's kind of weird,
fair. I
weird
hope you're
setup.
right about Skylar Bell. Obviously, I'm a big fan of his. I just think it's going to be distributed in a way like if DJ Moore is the guy for Josh Allen, I just don't see these other guys getting enough for them to be like that viable. Maybe Shakir week to week, but yeah, I mean, I hope you're right. It'd be fun to see Josh Allen lighten it up with a guy again. So that was they're your 6 and you already said 7, right?
6'7", yep, Steelers.
Fair. All right. So my 6 then, I got the Texans at 6. On paper, they have the offensive line improved really well for the Texans for the first time. That's going to be strong and good for CJ Stroud. I would hope that it works, that's the thing about offensive line rebuilds. They all look great in the offseason, but we'll see how they go. But that could help Stroud improve in some of the areas that he's been slacking in. And if it does, then this wide receiver group is super spicy. I mean, Nico Collins is a true wide receiver one. There's no doubt about it. When he's healthy and staying on the field, he's great, and CJ Stroud and him can do great things even when Stroud is off his game. Jaden Higgins, I do think can be a strong number two if he gets more volume than he did last year, which I think is kind of the plan. They didn't bring anybody in at tight end. Dalton Schultz is only going to get older, so it's not like I mean, he'll
Yeah.
still be like a decent threat, and it doesn't seem like the running. I mean, no, they brought in David Montgomery, so they are going to run a little more, I think,
Mhm.
but it's not going to be like super crazy running the ball, I wouldn't imagine. And then the X factor here is really a healthy Tank Dell. He made this offense go when he first showed up with CJ Stroud. They had a really strong connection. Even if he can't or gets hurt again, I think Jalen Noel is like a decent replacement for that. So I do like all three of these guys. I'm just like I still have this like red radar alert about CJ Stroud. He just like hasn't looked like that guy the past 2 years, and we can chalk it up to offensive line play because it has been horrendous and it has thrown him off. But we do have three viable pieces here. Like we really do. But to me, six and up all kind of have guys that I think or all have at least three or two just ridiculous ones. And so to me, like then I started weighing the quarterback, and this is where kind of Stroud fell to me, and that's why they went a little down. But super high on
Oh,
Collins. And then yeah, if Tank Dell can stay healthy, but like he hasn't been able to, and I would put money in the basket that it's not going to be his thing. Like I just don't think he will. As much as I love watching him play and I want him to be good, I don't want to put my eggs in that basket.
no. When the shell is that brittle, you should not put the egg out there with 11 other eggs trying to
Y-
break it in the
Yeah,
same basket. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
Something's gonna get cracked. You can't be out there with the same build as, Xavier Worthy, trying to play professional NFL football. It's not always gonna work, but no, for comparison, I have them at 5.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's all about Tank, and
Yeah.
it's all about Higgins, and it really does parallel semi closely. It's like if Jacksonville had like players I was excited about in their wide receiver core.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I'm at with them. I can't believe you got Jacksonville over these guys. It's insane to me. Nico is proven to be an absolute stud, and
Yeah.
obviously there's the departure of Kirk, no longer with the Texans here, so that makes it a little different, but I think they can absorb that workload is only 52 targets last year straight into Higgins, like you're saying. Um, yeah, and I think that there's a possibility that even Hutchinson gets more play. I just think that this is a very nice depth of wide receiver room with a
Huh?
clear number one and a
Yeah.
lot of pop potential. So it all does rest on Stroud. So
Yeah.
hopefully a solid, probably going to be the best running game they've had in a while. Mixon
Probably.
had
Yeah.
some good run, but Montgomery is a little more demanding of the defense's attention and some good offensive line
Hmm.
play. I think it's going to be a good season for these guys. So,
I hope so. Yeah.
so yeah, I have them at 5. Am I doing that thing now? Like we have to ask what your 5 is.
I get what. Oh, so your six was.
Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo. So yeah, so we got to go up to five then. This is me three times in a row leading it off.
Don't worry. Oh,
So I have the Chargers at five.
okay.
You got Lad McConkey, obviously a big Lad McConkey guy over here, and he did have a disappointing season last year. He fell from wide receiver 13 to wide receiver 30 in terms of points per game. But that was largely just due to Keenan Allen stealing his role, which still like confuses the hell out of me. Like, why kneecap your young up and coming wide receiver by bringing in a guy that fits the exact same role as his? I'll never understand that. That is very strange to me. But Quentin Johnson actually did improve after his awful start. He was a wide receiver 26 in terms of points per game last season. So we saw a lot of a little bit more spice out of him. And then I still think Trey Harris can be a great third option, potentially push QJ for that number two spot. To me, the reason that I'm not higher on them is I do still think that this offense will be largely like focused on the run. Um, and they're gonna use Justin Herbert, and these guys are gonna eat. And I think like efficiency wise, they could be good. But I think Mike McDaniel also will want to run the ball a lot. I mean, he had Devon Achane in Miami, but he's as good as he is he like a true workhorse type guy? I don't know. But the Omarion Hampton of it all, he absolutely is. Like in terms of just taking the punishment, like obviously Achane's a superstar, not denying that, but he's like right around 200 pounds or maybe less. You can't give him the ball 30, 40 times. So I think in terms of what they're going to do with this offense, I do think they're going to run quite a bit. So I think they're capped. I think McConkey is going to have a great year. I do think QJ can continue the success he has, and I think Trey Harris is going to improve from like a fairly middling rookie year. But I don't know. These other four teams in front of them, I just think are going to throw more. And that's kind of why I had them. Like the top six here, I mean, actually, my top eight are all like the best quarterbacks and just in varying different orders. And so at this point, I just liked Herbert more than Stroud.
Yes. Yes, agreed upon. Agreed upon. I've got the Chargers at 3.
Okay.
Mainly, I think that the Mike McDaniel of it all. I don't know why I say of it all the time, but I'm doing it. I think he adds a little spice here. I
Hmm.
do think the Hampton, uh, a healthy full season that we have coming up, fingers crossed, is going to impact the game at some level. But I think that, Harbaugh wanted to kind of get the momentum going, probably why he brought in Keenan Allen. And I do think that the younger guys in the wide receiver room, especially Lad McConkey, right, as the leader, and Trey
Yeah.
Harris's second year breakout, and then, over the top Johnston. I think that they have enough momentum to just be like, I don't know. I think they're going to be awesome. I think
Yeah.
that like you can't doubt Herbert at all. He doesn't
Hmm.
make mistakes really. He's kind of shown himself to be a little bit coach proof, a little bit situation proof, and just kind of a gritty kind of, I don't know. In his execution, he maximizes the options he has, and these three guys they're rolling out there. They have a lot of potential. I think it's a really well-rounded core, and so I think they're just going to push it. They got a lot of health coming back. Um, as far as the tackles, it's going to help everything with Alt and Slater. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pumped about. Well,
Yeah.
I'm pumped-ish. I'm excited to see how the Chargers do. But yeah, this is a really, really solid core.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you for sure. Top five. I like them a lot. So
Top three.
who do
Oh,
you have at five then?
I've got the Texans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, so we talked about the
yep.
Texans one more time. Well,
I'll do
actually,
my I'll do
flip it
my
to
number
you
four. Yeah.
because I already had
You had
the
the
Jags
Jags
at
at 4.
four. So,
Okay. Okay. I have the Broncos.
oh, okay.
I have the Broncos at 4. What do you got them at 2, don't you? I'm watching
Yeah.
you, dude. Singing those sweet Bo Nix songs. Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna say about this squad? They're very, very, very exciting
Hmm.
now that they have
Hmm.
Waddle on the team.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely insane. I mean, Cortland Sutton had been doing a really good job of
Yeah.
holding down the number one role on this team. And I think that, given an unchanged wide receiver core, they still would have had a potential. Troy Franklin was looking
Hmm.
pretty nasty, and they had enough variety in their style to make it work. But yeah, Sutton's coming off back-to-back top 15 years. And what do? You add like one of the spiciest wide receivers out there
Yeah.
with Waddle, who's been a little bit underwhelming, in my opinion. And I don't think it was because of his talent level. I think, you put him on a team with Tyreek Hill and you put him on a team where the quarterback play never solidified or thrived with Tua. And then you move him into this offense that, Bo Nix is kind of doing like a warrior type approach to the job where he's putting it all out there. He's
Yeah.
seemingly not much of a disconnect with what the play calling is, and he's having a lot of success. So you take that and you throw a tank of gas on it with Jalen Waddle, and what are you gonna, it's not gonna be worse. It's not gonna be worse. So
Yeah.
I do think it eats into Cortland Sutton's upside, but I think we're looking at, a potential top 10 here for Waddle,
Yeah. I
and
agree.
almost maybe a guaranteed repeat of a top 20 for Sutton. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just by the numbers, you don't really need number three in this situation necessarily, but Franklin, Mims, Bryant, there's potential for somebody to shake out
Yeah.
as a number three here. So,
And,
I
and
don't know.
that's why I have them at two over the team I have at three. Just because I think all three of these guys, well, and I think it will be Troy Franklin for the record. All three of these guys, I think, will be usable to varying degrees. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Jalen Waddle is in line for a potential top 10 season like he was in 2022. Cortland Sutton, I think, will be like a top 20-ish guy, if not like in the teens, probably late teens. He was wide receiver 21 in points per game last season. And I think Waddle actually helps him, takes the pressure off him, and the defense is going to have to focus on him. So Sutton's just going to be able to eat them alive underneath. And then Franklin as a three instead of a two is spicy. Nix, as long as he's healthy, he can make all these guys work. And the running game hasn't been like that crazy good with Sean Payton and the Broncos. I know they want to get it going, and they still, I think, believe in Evan Ingram. So maybe that's where the distribution goes. But I mean, if Troy Franklin is in the 40, like top 40 as a three, and then these other two guys finish like where I already talked about, that's gonna be hard to beat in terms of a trio for any of these AFC squads, which is why I have him at two. I'm a big Waddle guy. I believe in him, and I think as much as I hate Sean Payton and wasn't a Bo Nix fan, I'm not going to sit here and straight face tell you that they're not great, like so Bo Nix proved that he belongs in the NFL, and like now they just got him a true number one weapon. I think they're gonna really unleash it. I really do think they felt like if they could kind of take it two teams through the pass last year that they would have won more and maybe would have been in the Super Bowl, but I felt like
Sure.
they felt kneecapped, and Waddle certainly releases that. So
I love it,
uh
man. You didn't say anything good about Bo Nix there, but that's all right. We'll get you
I
on the
said it
next
was
year.
great. What?
Uh, no,
Oh,
all right,
whatever.
all right, all
All
right.
right.
So who do you have at number three?
So three, I have the Patriots at three. And the only reason I think they lost to the Broncos to me is that I kind of just think Matt Collins is a non-factor as the wide receiver three. Like I just don't really see him being a guy.
On this team at this time, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. So whoever ends up as the wide receiver three, I just don't really see it. But in terms of last year, Stephon Diggs was the wide receiver 24 in points per game with Drake May, and that was on like not that many passing attempts. I thought they would have been in the high end, and they were not. They were in the bottom of the league in terms of passing attempts. AJ Brown was wide receiver 11 on a team where he was visibly frustrated in terms of points per game, where
Mm.
he was visibly frustrated and wanted out for most of the year. And we all have questions about Jalen Hurts. With AJ Brown and Drake May paired up, that stock is immediately up, which is crazy because it was already fairly high. You know,
Yeah,
uh, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that AJ Brown could be like a top eight wide receiver, for sure. And then when you bring in Romeo Dobbs, like he's been very consistent. He's not the superstar type player. He's not. But as a number two to AJ Brown, he could be awesome. And he's the clear two now. And I don't think they're going to rotate him out as much as he was rotated out in Green Bay. So now I think his production could go up. So, like, to me, the high side would be like AJ Brown top eight, and then Romeo Dobbs like top 25, top 26, like in that area. And if he's a little off of that, maybe like if he's in the top 30, that's still really good for both these guys, and it'll make them both usable. They just don't have that like third option that would make the group better to me. But in terms of upside, I think I would want AJ Brown and Dobbs. I don't know, Jalen Watt and Cortland Sutton. I don't know. That's tough. Cortland Sutton I like better than Dobbs, but I like AJ Brown more than Waddle this year. So it's like a weird dynamic and trying to this is like 2A and 2B almost.
Yeah, this it's pretty thick here. This is the section. The for me the 2, 3, 4. Obviously, the Jags aren't in the conversation for me, but for you the 2, 3, 4, 5. But I actually have the Patriots at 2.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think
It's hard to argue.
it's well, a lot of it for me. I do think Keyshawn Boutte has some
Okay.
potential here as the number 3 guy. He kind of got feisty in like, scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
I think he could be developed in that role because it went from 0 to 3 to 6. So it's going to be a 9 touchdown season for him this year. I could see it already. Um, but, AJ Brown gets reunited with Vrabel. So it's
Yeah.
like, that's hot. Romeo Dobbs, you said it. Like he's always had more in the tank, but he's been part of that rotation, and now he's going to be on the field. He's going to be amazing, as long as he brings those balls down, my friend. Yeah, Drake May is playing really well, and
Hmm.
and I think the backfield's got the two-headed thing going on, and no one's too mad about what Hunter Henry was doing, and now you've got another exciting addition to the tight end room. So let it be, let it be. I think that AJ Brown is. I think he's got top 5 potential this year,
Yeah.
and I think yeah, Dobbs top 25. So. If they get a couple more touchdowns going in, Pop Douglas in there, there's still Kyle Williams, man. I'm still holding out hope for Kyle Williams. So yeah, I think yeah, give it to me. A little
Yeah.
bit of excitement to go around without a doubt. This is a high scoring pass attack last year, despite um, you know, yeah, they were fourth in total yards, passing yards last year. So I think if they keep that energy up, there's nothing stopping these guys. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. It's hard to argue. And for the record,
let's
Mac
do it
Hollins
anyway.
was the guy I mentioned because on our lads, he's the third guy. So I just
Oh, I'm
threw him
with
in.
you. I'm with you. 32
But
year old Mac Hollins. He's got this.
fair enough. All right. Well, that leaves the number one spot. Not a lot to say here. It's the Bengals with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Who else would it be? Jamar Chase finishes over the last few years 4, 1, 11, 12, and 5, dispersed with missing Joe Burrow all the time. And then T. Higgins, 15, 17, 51. That was on 12 game season, 18, 24, and 28. So on the up and up for him. I mean, if you got two guys that can finish in the top 15 and one of them could easily end up as the wide receiver one, it's very hard to not put them in first place.
Yeah, no, I mean they're out of control. So the real question is, do they beat the Rams?
Ooh. Well, I don't think I had the Rams at one. Who did I have at one last
I
week?
had oh yeah, you had the Cowboys.
Cowboys at one. Okay.
So, do they beat the Cowboys? I
I
guess yeah,
yeah,
I guess
probably
yeah.
yeah.
I guess the
Yeah.
Cowboys room is better than the Rams room.
I
Going back
think
to last week.
so right now. Like,
Yeah,
but
I'm with you on that. But yeah, Bengals win. Number 1 room in the NFL for sure.
yeah, I agree.
Uh,
Well,
Nothing to
well,
say.
there you have it. So next week we'll be moving on to a new position group. Where are we heading? Do you know already, or is it surprise?
Yeah, totally no. Tight in running. We're gonna go running back.
We're gonna go running backs. All right, so we'll be hitting you with the NFC running back rooms next week. Bit of an interesting dynamic there, whereas we're ranking these guys as a three-headed monster with the wide receivers, it almost is a detractor if there's multiple guys in the running back room. Uh,
Right.
but we will burn that bridge when we get there. So until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we will see you next time.
Yes. Enjoy yourselves.